right, welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. And tonight, I've got a very special guest with us. Chad is in the building. Now, you guys don't know Chad's face, but you will know Chad's voice because Chad called in to open mic last Wednesday, dropping all sorts of knowledge on NDSU players, specifically ending his call saying Christian Watson will run a 4.35 40 and shock everybody, running a 4.36 the very next day and doing just that, showing that Chad knows what he's talking about. Chad, what's going on, man? It's great to have you on.
It's great to be on first and foremost. And then also, technically I was wrong, right?
Technically you were wrong.
I was off by 100th of a second. It's a pleasure to meet you. It's good to be here. I'm just here to, promote the NDSU brand and at the same time talk truth about Trey. So my name's Chad Loomis. I go by a bunch of different handles in the past. CJ ATL Bison here. Now on Twitter at Faithful Trey. So feel free to like, subscribe, follow. I've never said that before in my life. I have a background of radio, and that's kind of what I was going to get into as far as my background in regards to NDSU. First of all, I've been a fan since like 85. Hardcore, diehard, all along. My background comes from being on air and radio in the Fargo-Moorhead market for 12 years on a couple of stations. So we were the flagship of the Bison Radio Network for a few years, and we hosted a weekly Bison Nation program where I gained a bunch of internal contacts through interviews and stuff. And I've been able to keep those a couple of them over the past couple of years, and they've become pretty good friends. I'm definitely not a first and foremost authority or voice on the subject. Those people, if you're ever interested, would be like Dom Izzo, Ross Uglum, Jeff Kolpak, Jeff Culhane, Mike McFeely, Beth Houle, Brian Shaw, and then one that I had mentioned last time being Phil Hansen, former Buffalo Bill lineman. So just wanted to give them props and let you know that I'm happy to tell you anything that I know. And if I don't know it, I'll try and find out, or I'll let you know that I don't know instead of BSing,
Well, so let me get this straight, though. You went to NDSU, correct?
Family went to NDSU.
Okay.
I was planning to go to NDSU and went directly into the family business of radio. So that's pretty much where my background comes from. I actually have a niece that's there right now that knows Phoenix Sproles, who was, I guess you could call him Trey Lance's wide receiver number 2. He was the Y guy. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you this. What I do know is that you came in and dropped that fire last Wednesday. And when you said that Watson would run a 4.35, it's crazy because I believed everything you were saying, right? And then you said Watson's going to run a 4.35. He's projected to run I think at that time it was like a 4.4, 4.44. Yep. I was like, man, 4.35. Like, I don't know. Like,
I agree with you.
But here's the thing is I was like, I felt like you didn't have to say that because I think we believed you anyways. You were dropping names of people that you know what I mean? We're just not familiar with.
I was putting myself too far out there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm grabbing water. So, is that all right if I drink water?
Yeah, no, you're good, man. I got my water here. Do what you need to do. So yeah, vodka, I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't know if you need to put yourself that far out there.
Right.
Like, we believe you. It's cool. Like, you know what you're talking about clearly. And then you're like, well, I was talking to his dad and 4.35. I'm like, all right, here we go.
I went too far, but I guess I got lucky.
Well, I think it's a little bit more than luck.
Truth be told, their family, Christian's family, follows and promotes the hell out of him on social media. So that's a big positive. So it wasn't hard to I've been helping Christian Watson's father perpetuate algorithms and hashtags and stuff on Christian's behalf since the beginning of the draft process. So that family I've gotten to know a little bit. I mean, not directly, not like, hey, it's Chad. No, he just knows who I am online. So
yeah, of course. Well, you definitely knew what was going to happen right then and there. So that was cool, man. That was cool. And it's crazy because I didn't know who you were on Twitter, right? Like, you obviously just restarted this Twitter handle.
Yes.
But you did have one that you were going through that was a friend's. And so I was scrolling through way back and all this stuff and just all the things that you had said. I mean, you were calling out the Christian Watson thing 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And then it comes to fruition. So I just thought it was a really cool deal. And then I also liked on the call how you talked about that wide receiver one and quarterback one out of 2019 weren't
Oh, dude.
from LSU. I loved that. I absolutely love the way that you worded that.
There's
So
this there's a small axe to grind. And again, I can if this goes on or we do this again sometime, I'm happy to explain the background. I'm happy to explain to anyone the background. I'm just trying to keep this kind of concise and on the outline. I have a tendency, and you can ask anybody that knows me, of going off on too long of tangents, not shutting up enough and listening enough. So I'm going to try and be more responsive versus leading, because that's, like I told you before we jumped on here, I'm used to doing the hosting and having to ask like technical, um, formal interview questions and then having to ask follow up questions. I just like the format that you've got going here, that we just get to kind of BS back and forth. And I do have follow. It's crazy. I do have a couple of follow up. Um, I don't want to say stories, but I do have a couple of predictions for the future that you can hold me to as well, but they're a little further into the future. So,
I absolutely love it. Okay, well, let's do this because obviously everybody's here for Trey Lance and we'll get to it. But
yep,
this Trey Lance is already a 49er, right? And that's great. We expect him to start. You know, there's a lot of rumors about Brady and Rodgers and all these other things. Jimmy G, who knows what's going on there. But most of us do expect that Trey Lance gets to take over this year, and that's what we're waiting for. But there
right.
are some prospects that are coming out this year that I think we should know about. And obviously, everybody's super high on Christian Watson. I think everybody now knows who he is if they didn't before. But who else is coming out that 49er fans should know about to potentially pair with Trey? The obvious one, again, is a receiver, but I know that there are other players that are pretty damn good coming out of that program. What should we know about them in case they do end up on the 49ers?
Absolutely, and I'm happy to go through a couple of them for you. Um, you're going to need to take with like a little bit of a grain of salt, because I'm going to be talking to people here that are diehard college football fans.
Mhm.
So I'm going to make a statement here, and I'm going to probably get a lot of eye rolls regarding it, as I have my entire life, and that's fine. And that is, in the context of this conversation, please be aware of one thing: we consider NDSU a top 10 college football team. Period. We are in the FCS. We want to move on to the FBS. I'm probably going to ruffle some feathers there in Fargo as well. But so we have 17 national titles for our program, from back in the 60s, I believe. But we were in D2. We dominated D2. Then we moved up to the FCS. And this was back in like 2010. It's like 12 years, maybe 15 years ago now, because there's like a stipulation of a period of time of like 3 years where you're not eligible to actually compete in a postseason scenario. So, then we moved up to the FCS, and obviously we've been doing well there, won 9 of 11 titles there. We have won 6 consecutive FBS opponent games at their home stadium, where they paid us money, over $2 million in total so far in the purse. The problem is, and I don't know if you saw that I posted this article that came out from SB Nation back in 2016. It actually has been reposted a number of times, and it basically just says, hey, FBS team, stop scheduling NDSU, because they're going to beat you, and then they're going to take your money and make you look like a fool in front of your fans at home. And so back in 2016, this is sad. We hate this. Another reason why I'm on here with you. We haven't been able to get another FBS game. We had one scheduled for last year with Oregon. Coronavirus, be damned, screwed us on that opportunity. So we finally get another FBS game coming up, with our first game this coming season with Arizona. And I mean, they were like 1-11 last year, so that's not going to garner any, extra bold print for NDSU by any means. But we can't get a game. We call everywhere. Matt Larson, our AD, this is pretty well known in North Dakota, has made calls to Georgia, Clemson, Dabo Sweeney, and our former head coach Kleiman, who went on to K-State. Were really close, and we were thinking that they were going to maybe work something there, but it didn't work out. Kleiman moved on. He's having some pretty big success, knocked off Oklahoma a couple consecutive years in his first couple of years. We do have a small coaching tree, and I did want to touch on that as I'm going to get to these players here in just a second. And it's tied in with Josh Allen. So when people are making comparisons there's a coaching tree there that I'd love to get into if you didn't know that. So,
yeah, absolutely. Of course. We'll get
so
into all of it.
yeah. So the only reason why I laid down that entire foundation is like every time I bring up something now, like just think of, oh, okay, so this is a player from a top 10 college football program instead of the unfortunate, hey, he's from the FCS, he's competing against lower level competition. You need to know that for the most part, we're not beating these teams by like 3 or 7 points. The championship we won by like 28, and that was because we went up 35-0 at halftime. And then just put it on cruise control. But so some other prospects. We've got NDSU is pretty well known for really tall tight ends. We usually have 2 at a time, and one, if not both of them, gets considered for the NFL or is in the NFL. Josh Babbage, right now, 6'6" tight end, great blocker, great touchdown pass catcher, underutilized in the past game, as you can imagine, very much like Christian Watson, which I'll get to in a second and in depth a little further on that, on maybe some stuff you didn't know there. But our last 4 to 5 tight ends have been 6'5" plus NFL talent. One of them right now is a Viking. The other guy that I had brought up last time that I spoke with you was Cordell Volson. He performed honestly terribly at the combine, like way underperformed. He's not a very good, tester. You know what I mean? He just protects the guy that he needs to protect, and he loves to pancake guys on the second level in the run game. Very good guard, tackle, versatile. One of the best that we've ever put there. He also has more experience than any college football player ever. He started 65 games. I think I had said that to you before, but so if anybody's looking at Pennington from UNI as a top tackle, I think he is, right? He's like number 4 or something like that.
Yeah.
In my opinion, he's kind of a poser mauler. I think he was putting on a little bit of a show there for the Senior Bowl. I don't know if you paid attention to any of that.
I did. Yes.
Yeah, the D line was just getting ticked off at him, and I'm like, you're just raising the dollar signs for that dude. So he gave up a lot of pressures and a sack and got pancaked against us back in October. Volson didn't do that. So I'm just saying, I think Volson's better than Pennington, and I know that's a bold statement. Cordell killed it at the Shrine game and all the practices. He won the award for like the best lineman of the Shrine Bowl practices, I guess, very much like Watson did for the Senior Bowl being a wideout. Okay, so that's Volson. We have a kid named Hunter Lipke, and I'm going to get to him in a second, but this dude is like, he's us. He's 100% a Bison dude. We're so proud of this guy. We can't wait to see what he inevitably does. On the defensive side, we have the Cox brothers. We're really big into legacy recruiting. And I'll get to that in a second as well, with Trey Lance's brother, who is at NDSU and just finished his redshirt season.
See that. Yeah.
So Jazir Cox and Jabril Cox. Jabril is now, he got hurt his rookie year playing with the Cowboys. He'll likely be the starter DB for them this coming season. Jazir Cox is his brother. Both of them, after winning multiple titles at NDSU, entered the transfer portal. Jazir just did a couple of weeks ago. Sounds like he might want to actually transfer and become a safety. But it helped Jabril, even though that LSU team was terrible. Jabril entered the transfer portal and went from NDSU to LSU. And he was one of the very few bright spots on that defense, I suppose, along with Stingley Jr., right?
Yeah, so he was.
So Jazir is one to definitely look for. I know you guys are in the market for a DB. We don't have one this year, but we will next year. Hunter Lipke is an animal. He's been on the team since 2019. Oh, that's another thing. As far as like thinking about we're a top 10, college football team, the 2019 roster alone will have somewhere between 11 or 12 NFL players on it. So keep that in mind when you're thinking about like comparing like, yeah, but it's NDSU and FCS. No, we're an FBS team that's stuck in the FCS. The thing is anytime somebody brings up, well, like then move up, you know what I mean? Like anytime we win a championship and we start trending on Twitter or something, everybody's saying like, well, would you move up? That's not how it works. I really, really wish it was just like, yep, we want to go now. You have to get an invite. And there are a lot of things holding us back. I won't get into the minutia of it, but it has to do with, like, for the most part, geography. It doesn't make sense for a major conference. So we're thinking that there's going to be a realignment and possibly like the majority of the Missouri Valley, which is our conference, in which you could equate to like the SEC, which I'm in right now here in Atlanta. But the Missouri Valley is the SEC of the FCS. And I just realized there's a lot of acronyms right there. sorry for the alphabet soup for everybody that's watching out there. So Hunter Lipke is a fullback, and he is a menacing fullback. He's the guy that is searching out contact, and he's going to make you pay. So you remember, every time you try to tackle him, it's going to equal pain. I remember that there was an interviewer at the conclusion of the championship game, and she was asking, was asking Matt Entz, our head coach, what he thought of Hunter Lipke hitting the defender 2 yards into the end zone when he didn't need to. And he just kind of like smiles, because the way that she framed the question was, he didn't have to do that, and he shouldn't have, exercised that type of aggression or whatever. And at NDSU, that's our porn, man. It just is. That's 100%. That's our porn. Ask anyone from North Dakota. Fullbacks bulldozing people is our porn. We live on like full line rugby scrum, fullback leading trench domination to a level that no one wants to tackle him. So this kid scored 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half of that championship game. And then, we pretty much put him on ice after that. But he blew up in the postseason. He is definitely going to be playing on Sundays here in a couple of years. So that'll be one that's coming out not this year, but next year as well. And then Trey's brother, Bryce Lance, just competed, like I said, his redshirt year. I've heard phenomenal things from the practices. He was named in multiple times as the as the scout team player of the week. So we're excited for that. And then last but not least, this is not a draft pick. This is not somebody who's potentially up there. This is somebody who's already in the NFL that I just want to throw my 2 cents in here, throw my hat in the ring for him. Is Easton Stick as a backup quarterback for Trey Lance.
There we go.
Now, I know I'm trying to like throw everybody on NDSU on the San Francisco 49ers roster, but okay, here's very briefly. He was with Lynn. Lynn is the one that drafted him on the Chargers. Yep. So he's been the backup for Justin Herbert. He's been the number 2 and number 3 rotating behind with Chase Daniels behind Herbert. So, but he was also obviously the mentor for Trey. So he has a very similar skill set. He's like Trey Light. So that's my 2 cents on that. But those are pretty much the players that are up and coming.
I'm actually looking to see what his contract is. I don't know.
Oh, and there's, please do look at that. But so Lynn's always been high on him, and he's Trey's mentor. At the same time, not to mention, George Kittle intimately knows NDSU and Easton Stick. When he beat CJ Beathard in Iowa at Kinnick during the only loss to an FCS team that Iowa's ever had, that was our last FBS game, which is really sad because, I can see people rolling their eyes going, dude, that was back in 2016. So I get it.
Easton Stick does have one more year, it looks like, with the Chargers. So it would have to be a trade. But I could see when he's a free agent definitely coming over. I think that would make a ton of sense.
You might be able to pull a semi-pro thing and get him for a washing machine or something.
Yeah. Great reference right there.
He to us is like just this gritty, like Case Keenum type. Like he's not a do-it-all guy, but he gives you everything and he just wins. He's like Jimmy Garoppolo, honestly. I mean, he's not as talented, but I'm just saying.
Like, yeah, absolutely.
He's a gritty guy.
Bino stepping in, he says, I wholeheartedly believe that Trey Lance is going to be one of the main reasons we get to championship number 6. Book it, 49ers for life, Trey season. I love that comment. Chad,
you and me too, Bino.
Around here, we give thanks when people donate, and here's how we do it.
Dude, I love it. I love it so much. I'm like,
I don't think
I'm
you
like, you gotta
expected that
stop
one.
laughing. No, I did not. I did not. I'm loving it.
All right, let's get into some of these quarterbacks here. And again, you
Yes.
can take this whatever direction you want. I'm just giving you a
Okay.
basic topic and you can do what you want with it. But why is NDSU a quarterback factory?
Yep. Why NDSU is now QBU, which, by the way, makes Sooner fans spit fire. um, so it's a couple of reasons, but I can give you them. Um, Number two that I'm going to list off right now is the actual reason why. But number one is something that I absolutely have to say, or Bison fans would shoot me. We believe that we have the best secret weapon in college football, and his name is Jim Kramer, and he is our strength and conditioning coach. And when you push around a line like Iowa, who is known as a ground and pound team, and keep them to 57 yards in a second half and negative 9 yards, like 85 Bears type stuff in the second half, you know that you're doing something right in the weight room. So, Trey Lance, you ask him about Jim Kramer, he's going to get a smile on his face and he'd be like, that guy kicked my butt. You know what I mean? Like, nothing but respect there. So, I would say it's him in tandem, in combination with Randy Hedberg. Randy Hedberg is the end all be all. Again, we're biased. We got the rosy sunglasses on, but we think he's the best quarterback coach on the planet. And obviously, us spitting out quarterback after quarterback, there's at least some validity to that. So there's a reason why. He's a former NFL quarterback, played for the 77 Buccaneers. He's the first to admit that he was well over his head when it came to being in the NFL. And this is going to explain a lot, by the way. He was way over his head in the NFL and wasn't prepared properly. So it was insane jump, is basically the way that he explained it. Nobody was prepared for that. Nobody ever told them that that was going to be the case. That's why he's adamant about redshirting. That's also why he doesn't move to the NFL. There's been several rumors that he's been offered positions by the NFL. First, he loves North Dakota. And second, he loves being the guy who's like, you need to sit, you need to learn, and then year two, you dominate. And that's how we always roll. So Randy Hedberg is the answer. He is phenomenal. And we should have a couple more. Cam Miller right now is we had a very interesting scenario with our quarterbacks. So a transfer came over from Iowa State named Zeb Nolan. Do you know who that is?
No, I do not.
Okay, so Zeb Nolan had a little bit of success in one season, and he gave the Oklahoma Sooners a run for their money. Iowa State's become known kind of as the giant killer at the end of seasons, the guys who are messing up, playoff opportunities or the college football four final. So he transferred over to NDSU and became our inevitably number 3 quarterback. So he sat behind Easton Stick. And then he sat behind this freshman that came in, the redshirt freshman named Trey Lance. So inevitably,
Oh, he was okay. Hold on, real quick. He was the one that
Yep.
was brought in. They expected he might be the guy, but Trey Lance came in right away and just stole the job from him. Was that him?
100%.
Okay,
Yep.
all right.
100%. And then there's there's this funny story regarding USC, South Carolina, down here, the Gamecocks, and I'll let you research that. But he played a couple of games here this past season when he was supposed to be like a professor for the college or something. It was this weird situation. I don't know if you heard about that or not.
No.
So Zeb Nolan, it was his turn. You know what I mean? It was just like you had to sit behind two guys. It's your turn. Unfortunately, I mean, being honest, he couldn't cut the mustard. He just wasn't that guy. So that's the reason why I don't want to put it solely on his shoulders. That's part of the reason why we didn't win a title last year. Or 2 years ago. Cam Miller then came in. Yeah, 2 years ago. Cam Miller is our current quarterback. And then we also brought a transfer over that was an Elite 11 guy named Quincy Patterson.
Mhm.
Quincy started off, he's a phenomenal talent. He's a dual threat. The problem is his pass game isn't on point. So it has to be. When you're passing like 20 times a game, you got to make sure that you're, in the 70s percentage wise, because you just need to. So he was having a little bit of trouble. So Cam Miller came back in, and that kid will never release the reins again. He has a work ethic, knows what it takes. His skill level and talent needs to come along a little bit for me to be comfortable regarding him. Where with like Trey, you were just like Butler game from that point forward, there was no question. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know that Cam is made for the NFL, but we got another kid after that named Cole that we think might have an opportunity. You have to understand that we don't get 4-star, 5-star. We don't get 3-star. I think Trey was the first 3-star that we ever got. Carson Wentz was a half-star from Bismarck.
That's
So
crazy.
we mainly get 0, half to 2-star for the most part. So it's our job at that point, and we do a damn good job at player development to bring them up to like a 3 to 4-star so that we're at the level where we're at. So there
Well,
you
I
go.
would say that Hedberg deserves a lot of credit, and again, so I've
Definitely.
had Quincy Avery's right-hand man on multiple times, Coach Sean McAvoy, and he talked about Trey Lance
That's
going into
awesome.
the draft process and talked about why Trey Lance was so prepared, and people didn't understand that, even though when a quarterback does sit at NDSU, that they basically run a practice. They're doing their installs for the week. And when you do an install, you're out there, you're going through each play. Normally, that's just a starting quarterback thing to do, but they do that also with the backup quarterback. So
Yes.
even though you're not playing, you are fully prepared as if you are the starter. And that's why they like to sit a player for a year, get them fully ready with installs, and then the next year they're ready to be deployed. And that's what happened with Trey Lance, because there is so much that goes into that offense. We talk about running things from under center, which is great. He did that. But also the playbook, it's a verbose playbook. There's a lot of verbiage that goes into that playbook. It
Yes.
is an NFL style playbook, and that's
Yep.
really what had Trey ready. And when his quarterback coach then came back on and said, "Oh, by the way, I know that it's only been about 3 weeks, but Trey Lance has the full playbook memorized." People are like, "Yeah, right. You're just saying that." And then Shanahan came out right before he was about to start versus
Dude,
Texans, like, just yeah, Trey Lance memorized the playbook about 2 weeks in, and it's a little bit more than memorizing the playbook. Obviously, you have to run and operate it, but he's known the playbook because he was asked the
yeah.
question. So the kid's a
You're
savant, and there's a
You're kind
reason
of
for it.
telling a story that I was going to tell in the future. So I'm going to add to this when you're done. Keep
Yeah,
going though.
yeah,
I'm
no,
listening.
no,
Yep.
go ahead. But that's what makes him so prepared. That's what makes these quarterbacks so prepared mentally and ready to play football when they actually do take the field. But yeah, go ahead and take the rest of it.
So Easton Stick, yeah, train and just like Carson Wentz to him, train him not just how to do it, but like from the beginning, how to study film, how to know what to do, like everything. But regarding what you had said, I remember a specific interview early in the season, maybe it was even in preseason, where somebody had said something about like, yeah, we saw the log on time for Trey Lance, or we saw the log on time for the team of people analyzing the playbook, and Trey Lance is like way up there. And Kyle Shanahan was like, yeah, that's great and all. And I love, by the way, how he's always downplaying Lance. I get the biggest kick out of that because this is something that I need to say because I haven't said it yet. To everybody listening out there, Trey Lance is elite. At no point in time has he not been elite. Anybody who said anything regarding, oh, but he couldn't beat Jimmy G, that's bullshit. I'm sorry. It just is.
Good.
Um, First and foremost, he's a better quarterback than Jimmy G. Second, Lance fans are Jimmy fans, and I'll explain that in detail in a little while if you want, but as I did to you before. But we were all laughing in Fargo and all of the NDSU fans because we're like, oh, no, dude. When Kyle said, like, yeah, you can just leave that open and it'll log at his time or whatever, we're like, no, dude, he's got it down. I promise you, he's studying it. He is the most, I know how crazy this is because I've been following football like professionally for 25 years in a sense. Um, and he is the most focused, driven individual I have ever seen on a football, hands down, period. He's basically just constantly doing things that are going to make him better. Why? because he wants to be the GOAT. He wants the records. He wants the medal. That's why if Tom Brady were to come in straight up, it'd just be like he's blocking him. I mean, everybody on your side of things, on the San Francisco 49ers side of things, is like, dude, if we could get Tom Brady, nobody's going to be mad about that. Somebody might have even said that today. Grant Cohen. Anyway, so I'm telling you right now, Trey doesn't want to be behind anybody. He spent his time. He took his licks. He was the rookie. He kept his head down. He did everything respectful as he was supposed to. He's waiting for the keys, and he's ready to drive the Lambo at 900 miles an hour and be damned anyone in his way. So please, for the love of everything that is sacred 49er fandom, please, F-triple-T, faithful to the Trey.
I love
Jump
it.
on the Trey train because there's only one initial departure, and it starts now.
Well, you touched on something there, and I want to bring this up. Not that you're going to have answers, right? And it's more of a
I might not.
rhetorical thing. It's more of a rhetorical thing, honestly. But that's my worry about this whole Tom Brady thing. First of all, I don't think it's going to happen. But let's say it did. I think that the 49ers run the risk not only of holding Trey back, and they say, well, you can sit behind the greatest quarterback of all time. I'm not saying it would ultimately be a terrible thing long term,
Right.
but knowing Tom Brady, it's not necessarily to be a quarterback for only 1 year. If they win or they get close, why wouldn't he stay for another? So at what point are you risking pushing Trey Lance away forever and overriding that
You're right.
cachet that you've built with him? I think that is a
That's a
dangerous
rhetorical
game to play.
question. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a very good, poignant question that I have never thought of before personally. And I can't speak on Trey's behalf, but I do know that like he wants it. He wants to roll with it. He wants everybody in. And I think that he earned that. And this is one of the points I wanted to make was he knew that if he just came in and acted like, okay, this is mine, I'm going to take it over now. He knew that in order to earn the respect of his teammates, that he needed to do things the way that he did them. And he needed to show them that he was not only like willing to do whatever it took, but was hungry for knowledge. I mean, and Fred Warner touched on that today. By the way, that was the other prediction that I made is that everybody's going to jump on the train. I'm telling you right now, this is going to be a slow, meticulous trickle that comes out, and you're going to hear more and more about Trey, which I think is ironic because, again, the algorithms of online media are going to take over, and it's just going to change everybody's, opinion on the cat. That's why my buddy Chris started a list that's like 450 people now of the first people that were talking trash to Trey because he's coming back for receipts. And I love that he's vindictive. He's insane, but
Listen, I'm not a receipts guy, but on this topic, I have kept them. Trust me.
Oh, I know. Yep. But
let
no,
me get to
honestly,
this.
that's a great
Okay.
question. It's a fantastic question. At what point are you pushing too far? What I have said to people is if you bring somebody else in, I mean, we're pushing for him to go elsewhere. You know what I mean? This kid is not meant to be sat. He is meant to roll.
And that's just it. Like there are so many little things that if you just pay attention, right? Regardless of whether you thought Trey Lance should have been the guy or not, whether you think he's ready or not, just pay attention to the little things as a fan, right? And these little things go a long way to show leadership. After each of his games, he talks in me statements when he's taking blame and always says we or them when giving credit. Okay. This is something that frustrated the hell out of me with Jimmy G.
I
Jimmy,
think he did
why'd you
with a
throw that
lot of Niners.
interception? Yeah, Jimmy, why'd you throw that interception? Well, we. No, why did you throw the interception, right? Trey Lance, why did you throw the interception? Well, I needed to see that better. I made XYZ mistake. You saw that right away. The other thing that I love seeing from Trey, watch any sideline shot after somebody goes in and out of that game after making a play. Who's the first player every time to greet him? Trey Lance. Every single time.
Yep.
He's
And by the way,
depositing. There you go. There you go.
No, I'm saying Kirk Cousins, exact same MO, dude.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Yep.
take he takes credit when the credit is good for him, and he passes off the buck when it's not.
Yep. So there you go. Like there is little things like that, leadership wise, that he was showing everybody. He's depositing leadership coins into all these players. So when he does take over, these guys like him, know him, trust him, and see how hard he's been working on top of all the little things he's done to show leadership. So just pay attention to those things. Like
That's a
it's
good
not that
analogy.
hard.
No.
Yeah. Niner by Nature 88. Thank you. I appreciate it as always, my guy. Says Sir Lance, the king of the NFC. Yeah, well,
That's it.
hopefully
See,
sooner rather
all
than
I
later.
can say is I love those comments and I retweet and I and I like them. I don't make that bold of a statement, but I'll absolutely promote it if somebody else does. Yep.
Absolutely. Let me
I
show him some
completely
love
agree
real
with
quick.
you.
All right.
I
Let's
want
get
you to
in.
come back one of these times and I'm going to have like a mask on or something funny. Anyway,
Yeah, exactly. All
go
right,
for it.
let's get into this final topic, but this is going to be the meat and potatoes of the show.
Yes.
Appreciate everybody for tuning in. If this is your first time, make sure you like, subscribe, hit that bell notification. These are the things that we bring you here on Last Second Sports. All right, Chad, what makes you so confident about Trey Lance? We talked about NDSU being a quarterback factory, why their quarterbacks are as prepared as they are, but we've seen also multiple quarterbacks get drafted. And most recently, Wentz is a guy that I think just from a pure talent level had some of the best skill sets that you could have as a quarterback, but he's starting to fizzle out. I mean, we're hearing Indianapolis may be interested in Jimmy G over Wentz. There is no world where Jimmy G is on the same stratosphere from a talent aspect as Carson Wentz. You hear these leadership stories that come out, whether they're true or not. There's a lot that's said about Carson Wentz, and he just unfortunately hasn't lived up to that pick that he was drafted at, right?
Completely agree. And I, again, I'm a realist,
Mhm.
but also very pro biased NDSU. And I completely agree with your assessment regarding that. Here's the thing: Carson Wentz is an elite quarterback with the Superman complex, which keeps shooting him in the foot time after time after time. And I honestly don't think he can let it go. I really don't. I really wish that he could, but he thinks he's superhuman and he's not. He's still a top nine, like he was number 9 in QBR this past season.
Mhm.
Ask the Colts fans if they give a flying you know what if he was the number 9 QBR. I mean, he sold his ticket down the street if that's what happens, But yeah, no, I agree with you. And I'm a diehard Carson Wentz fan. If I screened around my basement here, the man cave that I call Deep North, by the way, since we're down south, there's Wentz and NDSU stuff all over here. I mean, I'm a big fan of his. I really am. But he has, I think, too big of a head as well. And I
Mm.
don't mean like it's not that he's cocky. He just comes from a standpoint where he's delivering information to his teammates like it's fact instead of like approaching them from a much lighter situation. You know what I mean? Like, hey, what do you think if we try this instead of this is what we need to do or this is what we're going to do? And I've heard that many times coming out of locker rooms with him. But, live and let live. But so regarding Trey Lance, first, he's better than Wentz. It's
Right.
hard to compare. It really is because they are different animals. They definitely are different animals. But Lance is going to be better than Wentz. He's going to be better than Wentz was in year 2. And I don't know if you knew this or not. At the time when he got injured, he was having the greatest second season for a quarterback in the history of the NFL. I mean, he was the leading MVP vote getter at that point in time. He basically teed up the Eagles to win their championship. And then, Nick Foles was able to pull out an amazing, postseason for him. So, but regarding him and what I said a second ago, I said this is going to ruffle a few feathers. Trey has been better than Jimmy G all along. He just has as a quarterback, not as an NFL quarterback. And he was not the guy, in my opinion, again. And we differ here, which I love that you're pro NDSU / Lance over me. So at least it helps me a little bit from a leniency standpoint of my bias. So, but Jimmy G, I think, was the right man for the guy. Like I said, he had the locker room. You can't just be a rook at number 3, come in and just, expect for everybody to love you. You have to earn that. Like you said, you got to put coins in the leadership bucket. Is that how you put it? By the way, I love that. And
yep.
I'm stealing that, and I don't care. I'm not even gonna credit you with it when I do it too.
Just do it shamelessly. I enjoy it. Yeah.
I don't have this platform, so if anytime I'm on anything, it's gonna be with you likely. So did you hear that? All the other sports analysts of the 49ers. So here's the thing. So he maybe wasn't the right guy, Jimmy G, to win the Super Bowl, but in the grand scheme of things, me looking far forward a couple of steps for the next 2 decades, I think what he did was vital. And we as Lance fans are diehard Jimmy fans because he's a mediocre to good quarterback, a phenomenal leader, right? He was the guy that got treated like crap by the guy who's currently being run around in circles for this job instead of Lance. And so we knew that he would want to do it right. You know what I mean? Like all along, I'd heard somewhere like, if I ever got this opportunity, like I'm going to do this right. And I feel like you can't say it was a good relationship between the two because, Lance is like, oh, he's going to be my best friend forever. And I'm sure Jimmy's under his breath being like, best friend, my ass. You know what I mean? Like, dude, you came in and stole my job. What a dick. But
yeah, exactly.
But like Jimmy even said himself, like it was easy to love Trey. Even considering the circumstance. So I feel like he was the right guy. Also, they're both FCS quarterbacks and also both Walter Payton award-winning quarterbacks. And that's part of answering this question for you. Excuse me. It's been a long time since I've run my voice for this long at this level. So I'm a little out of practice of being off the air for quite a few decades. So for me, it was the fact that like Trey Lance had 1 year. You know what I mean? Like he sat the first year, but then he had 1 year to produce. Technically, I'm going to say the perfect season. Again, FCS, FBS, keep it in context, top 10, whatever. Everybody, and I'm going to get to the turnover thing in a second, which is going to bring up a good point as well. But so for Trey Lance, it was a matter of that he got 1 season where all of these other previous accolade winners, like the Walter Payton Award winner, Jimmy G had 4 years to build up to that level. He was a senior when he won it, just like everyone else. No one in the history of the FCS has ever won the Walter Payton Award as a underclassman, and Trey did it year 1. I don't know if you knew this as well, but he won the Offensive Rookie of the Year, which is named after one GOAT, Jerry Rice. So it was really cool, especially from a standpoint for his dad, Carlton, who is Trey's dad, Carlton, is a diehard Jerry Rice fan. So for him to go from like, got this award from his whatever, I think it was his daughter or his sister that he got the award from because Jerry couldn't be there to award it to Trey's family the night before the FCS championship in Frisco, Texas, which is where this awards banquet happens. So he didn't even attend the award banquet, by the way. He was too busy prepping with his team that he passed up on picking up the awards. Anytime I can add some character to that for you, I'm going to do it because he deserves every single bit of it.
But these little things are important to know, the insights of Trey Lance. Yes. And you said it on the call-in show, but for those that didn't hear it before, I don't want to derail you too much.
So
you're on a roll here, but you talked about an academic scholarship. Walk us through that real quick too.
So he got a lot of scholarship offers as an athlete from D1 schools, as everyone knows, but not as a quarterback, as a secondary. He also got an academic scholarship from Brown. There's also which he turned down, of course, to come to NDSU. There's also a NBC Sports, it might even be out of the Bay article about some expert that had interviewed the rookie quarterbacks from last year, and Trey's X's and O's measured off the charts. Nobody had ever measured that high before. I'm not joking. This kid's been doing X's and O's with his dad from the age of 9. I mean, 90% of what Trey is from his mom and dad. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, they have great parents. No, his dad was getting up with him at 5 a.m. and going to the YMCA. His dad, every time a football game, the Vikings, by the way, were on the TV at home, not even like a full series would go by. And his mom said that he is dragging his dad out into the backyard to play football. And his brother and him had this huge rivalry between the two of them that they're always competing. And so they've got this insane household of competition between the three of them. And his dad was a professional DB, didn't play in the NFL, but he played in a couple of other leagues as well. So he had the talent. He also tried out for the San Francisco 49ers, which at the time, Kyle Shanahan was the water boy for the team. So their dog's nickname is Niner. How many other ways? Like, I don't know. Niner fans, do you need a freaking neon sign that says stop effing with Trey? Because all of us are like, stop effing with Trey. Like, hand the kid the keys. You're welcome. It's literally like, that's how we feel. Like, you got Brady over here from the left grabbing the key. You got Rodgers from the right trying to grab it. You got Jimmy, who's like, I didn't offer to turn over the keys at any point in time. I've been sitting here in the golf cart waiting to go. Meanwhile, Trey is like sitting in the driver's seat of the Lambo going like, I can't start it if you don't give me the damn keys. So, yeah.
I love it. I love it. And these are all things that are important. And in the process, I'm trying to answer this question from Ramon. It says fans want to know, does Lance have the intangibles to perform at a high level of someone like Mahomes? And I think that you're going through your storytelling, you're answering this question brilliantly without even realizing that it was a question.
Yeah.
But
Ramon, yes.
Yeah.
And go ahead. I'm going to go grab my mask.
Yeah, no. I'm not. I will in a minute. Okay. But
okay.
I want to continue to answer the question with more about Trey. So,
and I can get into details about this too. And
I plan to. Go ahead. Yes, please do. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, you okay? Right now.
Yeah, jump into it.
So the reason why Trey is, I call this for the Niner fandom out there, fine / good / more than good / ready, because everybody apparently has a different interpretation of what ready means. And I've seen some crazy takes from fans out there that are like, he's got everything around him. If he doesn't win a Super Bowl, this was the dumbest, this is the worst. Dude, give the kid a second. Wentz brought the Eagles there in year 2, right? Like, led him up to the doorstep, teed it up. Yeah, he's going to be awesome, but like, don't give like crazy pressure here. So we need to talk in explaining Trey Lance and his abilities and everything that you guys have seen so far. Hopefully this is going to make a lot of sense. And I will go to my grave with this belief. We need to talk about the Arizona game and the first half of the Texans game, okay? And this is going to explain the question that you asked me. So I just would love to go up to Kyle Shanahan and put my left hand here on his shoulder and my right hand here on the other shoulder, maybe shake him a little bit and just go, what was that? Like, he knows now in hindsight, by the way, and I'll explain that too. But we were sitting there, NDSU fans, Fargo, North Dakota, the entire state was sitting there like, why is he running Trey this much? And then we're watching it again and we're like, and again, and again. We're like, he's going to get him killed. And lo and behold, he did get hurt. Like, he's running him up the gut like a running back on 30 designed plays, like run plays. So that isn't Trey. He's not run first, like I said. He's not run second, third, or fourth. If he runs through his progressions and it's not there, then not even then is he thinking about running. He's thinking about scrambling and keeping his eyes downfield. And you've seen examples of this. He's looking for Debo. He's looking for Ayuk. He's looking for Kittle. That's where he's. Oh, and Jennings. By the way, I think that Jennings is a highly underrated player. I think I told you that before as well. Yeah, I've got a buddy here in my neighborhood who's a diehard Tennessee fan, and he's like, he doesn't equate outside of in-game. When he's in-game, he's got some crazy speed. Like, he's all over the place. He's got a motor on him, and Fred Warner had said the same thing. But so Trey isn't run first. So everybody out there is like rolling their eyes like, yeah, of course, we know that. And if you know so much about NDSU, then, tell me what's it. I don't need to tell you. NDSU told you. You go, here's the key. You ready? Deep early. You go vertical at least once, early. And everybody's like, why would you do that when you might potentially do what? Throw an interception?
Yeah.
Sorry, but this kid at this age, that's the worst argument you could potentially have. Now, I'll explain why. Everybody knows the statistic 42 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, right? That's
Yes.
28 passing touchdowns in Trey's 2019 season with NDSU and 14 rushing touchdowns. Didn't throw a single interception, right? It's 10% luck and 90% him having a defensive X's and O's mentality, knowing and looking at the defense and going like, oh, there's a DB that's slightly slanted this way. There's a safety who looks like he's got, weight on his back foot. Like he knows and can see. Those are the intangibles, dude. He knows and can see what he's going to need to do. He's going to make the adjustments at the line of scrimmage. He's going to call a totally new play versus an audible if he needs to. Why? Because he can. He's got the knowledge. He's got the ability. So why go deep early? Because ta-da, now the opposing defense is spread out over 80 yards instead of the Jimmy 20. When you got a cannon, you fire it. Mystical said, show them what you're working with, right? So I'm saying, and I'll get to this, and you guys will be like, holy crap, that's right, he did do that. Okay, so Trey in college at NDSU opened up his own field. You get the defense on the balls of their feet. You get the underneaths all of a sudden are there. You've got more space to scramble and time to do it, to buy more time for your wide receivers downfield. Trey doesn't want to run. That's not his modus operandi. It's his last thing. He's an elite scrambling gunslinger who protects the ball and can run if need be. That's it. That's the nail on the head. That's him. And it's my opinion, and it could be very wrong. And I'll shut up so that you can put your 2 cents in here. But I've got, a list of things that I'm expecting most Niner fans are like, okay, like why? Like, what's so special about this? Like he and Jay talking right now. So he can have more success in the design runs now once you've opened up the field as well. He's got the space to scramble. It's my opinion, and this is what I was getting to, is Kyle Shanahan fell in love with Trey Lance's FCS championship game. And if you looked at that versus the rest of his game film and everything that Trey has ever been about, that was a 180-degree different game plan, and it was intentional by NDSU. The reason why is because our biggest rival in the FCS was JMU, James Madison University, and I say that because they're moving up, like our other rival, Sam Houston State. Where's our invite?
Right. Exactly.
So everybody around us is getting an invite to go up. We're not. Doesn't surprise us because every G5 knows that right off the bat, we'd be middle of the pack to the top. Nobody wants to share that money. Nobody wants, a dominant team coming in and wiping everybody's, chances and hopes of a college football playoff out, like the, UCFs of the world. But
and they also don't want their recruits taken away. Like, that's
absolutely,
what's going
100%.
to happen. Yeah.
Yep. So Kyle Shanahan, I think, in regards to his play calling and his game plan for Trey Lance in the Arizona game and the first half of the Texans game, you're going to notice a big difference from the second half of play calling from the Texans game. Everybody's like, oh, Trey sucked in the first half and he finally got his rhythm at the end of the... No, Kyle Shanahan trusted Trey Lance's arm. That's what he did. In the NDSU JMU championship game, Trey ran it 30 times, a very similar number to what Kyle Shanahan was trying to run Trey Lance. Trey ran for 166 yards in that game. Didn't pass. Like he was 6 for 10, I think, in that game. Didn't pass like at all. Why? No. It's first of all, it's FCS level. You can talk about level of comparison in that regard. Second of all, it was our game plan, and by our, I mean Matt Entz, our head coach, and Tyler Roll, our offensive coordinator's game plan, to throw something that at JMU that they'd never seen before, that they couldn't have seen all year long, and that was Trey running until they stopped him. They stopped him for a small period of time in the second quarter. Other than that, I'd say 166 yards in one game is pretty decent. So that's why we ran him that way in the championship game. And I think Kyle Shanahan saw that and was like, ooh, this is going to be awesome. Thank God he finally tuned out on that notion and went, okay, apparently he's not run first. He's throw first, which he is. that can run. So if you notice the second half of the Texans game, there were no more design runs. He went deep early. He got a PI on Brandon Ayuk, right?
Yep.
And if you remember, and I've seen two different versions and I've been looking for the second one forever of the highlight reel. The first one that I had first seen was what you still see today. I think that one got taken down. And in that second one, you see a little head nod where he goes like that, right? Like Trey Lance, after they went north, after they went vertical, and they got that pass interference, Trey kind of looked over at the sideline at Shanahan like, see what I'm talking about? And
Yeah.
then the thing that was missed in the first, the second one that I can't find anymore is he did this. And by doing that, he was saying, I told you, you need to let me go vertical to open up my field. Now
Yeah.
tell me in the second half, 49er faithful, if Trey didn't dissect like a surgeon that defense on the Texans. Everybody's like, well, yeah, he barely beat them. No. He beat them by 16 points with a half of correct play calling. He scored 20 points in fantasy football. Yeah, I had him on my bench. He scored 20 points in fantasy football against the Seahawks in 1/2 of play. Like,
Yeah.
And the greatest part, the most wonderful part for me in thinking forward is Kyle Shanahan got it, right? Like he found him, he found his game, he got it, and now he's had an entire off season to put together a specific playbook. I mean, it was really heartening to me that he sat home from the combine because he was, mad scientist. That's what goes through my head from a dream standpoint is he's mad scientist play, writing for Trey. So anyway, I'll shut up for a couple of minutes and feel free.
No.
Go ahead.
No, you've touched on so much. I kind of was trying to keep my thoughts together, but you're right about that. I mean, here's kind of what a point that I've made about Trey, and you tell me if maybe I'm on the right path. And
hold on a second. I want to quickly shout out to Eric Crocker. I watch a lot of his stuff. So
there you go. Yeah, Crocker's a good guy, man. He's by the way, I'm sure that there's probably not many, if any, watching that are not subscribed to his channel, but make sure you do. Crocker is a genuine great dude. Love talking shop with him. Extremely supportive and has extended an olive branch to helping me out for sure. I love Crocker.
He knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, he definitely does, right? And this is a guy that
way more than I ever could. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he comes from a player perspective, and that's what makes Crocker so great. Is that coming from that player perspective, he can give that human element to being a player that I think so many people overlook. And it is very important when you're talking things, that we're getting into, especially when it comes to leadership. But, I think to me, I keep going back to this, but Trey Lance to Shanahan is what Brett Favre was to Holmgren. And what I mean by that is that Shanahan has been stuck with these mediocre at best quarterbacks. I don't want to say stuck because he's the decision maker as a head coach, right? But he's chosen to stick with Jimmy, who's all right, okay?
Yeah.
But
I feel the same way about Cousins, and I know he's high on him too. So,
he is, right? But I think Cousins, even if I'm looking at Jimmy G and Cousins, like Cousins is here. Cousins is a better quarterback than Jimmy G. He just is.
Yeah, okay? I agree. Yep.
And he's put up some big numbers. I mean, he has a 6-year running average that's better than Jimmy's best season. So Trey Lance is a better quarterback. But that being said, I think that Shanahan is a little bit rigid because he doesn't trust the quarterback there. And so you see it in the way that he started out in calling things for Trey. But what Trey did was a couple things. And if you go back and you watch that film, one, they were backed up against the goal line. He has Kittle on an easy slant. He passes it up, keeps his eyes downfield, rolls right, and I hit I believe Ayuk for a first down. So he picks up more yards than what he would have, right? And I know that when Shanahan sees that play, in fact, I commented, when Shanahan sees this, he's going to take him to task in the film room, which may be true, but Trey's going to continue to make these plays. He's going to continue to pass up shorter plays to make plays down the field that are also, by the way, safe plays because he does protect the ball. He has an innate ability to protect the ball. I kept saying that Jimmy G has a gunslinger mentality with a game manager skill set. Well, guess what? Trey's the exact
Yeah.
opposite of that. He has a gunslinger skill set, but a mentality of a guy that wants to protect the ball and puts that
This is
ball
why I love
first.
this back and forth because I would have never thought of this in those terms, and you're 100% correct.
And so for me, I don't. Did you see? I would assume that you saw the practice film that got leaked where Trey Lance
Yes.
is. Okay,
Javier Vega or whatever his name,
yeah, yeah, exactly,
dude,
exactly.
props to
So
that guy. I told you there's like 100 other pieces of film like that
I
out there that you're
guarantee it.
probably never
Yes,
gonna see. Yeah,
right.
it's
And so here's the thing, though. Right? Is for me, that was crucial to see because the only downside or only knock that I had about Trey coming out, people talk about run first and all these other things. First of all, Trey's not the type of guy that's going to break the tackle box and just beat you to the edge. That's not his game. He's going to
nope.
stay in the pocket. When things break down, he's going to keep his eyes downfield, continue to try to throw the ball down the field as he approaches the line of scrimmage, and then he's going to break free, usually up the middle. Now, once he gets ahead of steam, good luck catching him, but he's not the guy that right away is going to beat
Oh,
you off
no.
the line and
No,
beat you
no.
to a
He's
spot.
he's not he's not a first step explosive dude by any means. No. He's got this agile fluidity. You know what I mean? Like he just slightly moves, shifts, his body like maybe 2 feet, and all of a sudden he's eluding a guy that you didn't know was barreling down on him, and then he's got a sixth sense back there. Randy Hedberg coached that into him. I know he did because he's really like when Wentz first came out, they were calling him the magician. You saw the stuff that he was getting
Mhm.
away with, and
Yep.
that it's every Randy Hedberg guy is going to be an elite scrambler. They just are because he pushes it so hard. But you keep
Well,
going
and
because I'm
and the
loving
and
you talking right now.
well, the Wentz thing, and maybe that's what got Wentz in trouble, right? Because he did
It
get away
is.
with some things, and so he continued to try to push the envelope, right? To where Trey does play a little bit more conservatively. And so the one thing I said about Trey was he lacked a little bit of arm creativity, right? He obviously can get mobile and push the ball downfield and do some amazing things, but he didn't have the arm angles or he wasn't making crazy throws over the top of
The
somebody
home
rolling
style.
left, throwing
Yep.
exactly, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
and people fell in love with that, by the way, with Zach Wilson, which I think was fool's gold from the beginning. But people
Me
love to
too.
see that stuff.
What are the
Okay.
chances that the Jets would be horrible evaluators of talent?
Right, exactly.
Sorry to
But
all Jets players out there.
But you look at Trey Lance, and that was one thing that I felt he was lacking in his game. Even though I knew he had the skill set to be able to do it,
Yep.
he didn't really show that a lot, even at the college level. But when that film came out and I started to see some of those throws and that creativity, I'm like, it's over. It is over for the rest of these teams.
When
Because if
he
he
was
figures that out, oh my God, this kid could be
there,
a perfect quarterback.
he has a lot more in his toolbox that I think Shanahan's. I think I hope I think I'm in the exact same boat as you. I Shanahan's got to let loose. He's got to give a lot more slack to the kid, and he's earned it. Like I said, and I think I feel like our back and forth here that you're like teeing me up for everything that I've got to talk about, like the protecting the ball part. I want to talk about that, so I'm sticking a pin in that right now. That I want to get back to that, but you were on a roll, so keep going.
No, no, no. The role is over. For me, there is
GE5.
so many good things about this damn kid. And I think so many people overlooked it in the draft, and people have a propensity to want to be right. I get it. Like I would love to be right
Oh
about
yeah,
everything, but I'm not. Like you say a lot of things, you're bound to be wrong. But people have this thought about Trey that he is this type of quarterback when that is not at all who he is, and they cannot
nope,
get away from it. Did you have
nope,
something you need
nope.
to go do or something? You were
No,
sitting
no,
up
no,
there.
no,
You
no. I'm
were
leaning forward because I wanted to point out and give props to GD5 there that made the comment about Trey
Mm.
moves like Deshaun Watson but has a better arm. Dude, have you been stalking my Twitter or something? Because I've been saying that, and Trey hates comparisons. I mean, most
Yeah.
quarterbacks do. But it's different for him as to why he hates it because he feels like it's disrespecting the people that he's saying it about because they've established themselves in the NFL, and he's just this kid who everybody's like, oh, he's like that. But if he were to give himself a pro comp, Deshaun Watson's who he compares himself to. I'm the guy that keeps putting out on Twitter, he's Deshaun Watson with a better arm. So GD5, big props. You're 100% right.
Yeah, and that's and here's the other thing. I'm not gonna say everything that was given out behind the scenes, but when I first reached out to Coach McAvoy, We had about a 25-minute conversation. Super cool guy. 25-minute conversation over the phone before he ever came on the show. And I just asked him a lot of things off the record, and he was very, very kind in answering those things. So I don't want to overstep
Nice.
that relationship. But what I can
Yep.
say is this: the way he talked about Trey Lance, this is a guy that's worked with Deshaun Watson, seen him up close, worked with Justin Fields, seen him up close, amongst many other quarterbacks. Malik Willis also. The way he talked about Trey
Which I've
Lance,
seen him in person in high school. I just wanted to say that at
he's
Roswell. Anyway, keep going.
cannon, by the way. I mean,
Oh,
amazing.
absolutely. He's they kept comparing him. He had a social media team backing him in this, play through the draft. And that's part of what I do is my profession. But they kept comparing him to Lance, and I'm like, no, I mean, I get kind
No,
of, but no, it's not even close. I've seen them both in person. No, but keep
no,
going.
not at all, not at all. But the way that he talked about Lance, it very different from the other quarterbacks. I'll just leave it at that. You can take with that what you will, but it's a good thing.
I know
So
exactly. Yeah. No, I
yeah.
know. I know.
So
Yeah.
go ahead. The
It's so
accuracy thing.
hard.
You wanted to talk about that.
Yeah, I do. Well, I wanted to talk about protecting the ball. Um, and every nervous, small, minute thing that every 49er fan is questioning about Trey Lance, it's reps. Anything you're worried, he needs reps. He needs the OTAs. He needs every number one first team rep in OTAs leading up to the season. He does that. September is going to be a gold mine. That's all I'm saying. In regards to protecting the ball. So everybody knows the stat, and I talked about this earlier. Everybody knows the stat: 42 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, right?
Mhm.
But do you know how many turnovers that Trey had for the season?
One
Do you?
fumble?
Yeah, one lost fumble. Do you know what that lost fumble was?
No.
Second quarter, first drive, first game. So that 19-year-old kid played 15 perfect games. Like, that's what you got coming to San Francisco to the Bay. So you can imagine being a college football fan, whatever your favorite team of all time is, right? And you've got this quarterback and he's up there and he's in front of everybody, except it's a lower level. So everybody's like, questioning this, that, and the other. And I'm trying to explain to you, to the Bay, to everyone nationally, he is an elite talent in whatever scenario or context you want to put him in. He is that guy. When Christian Watson said he's that guy, he is that guy. He's going to be, that's one of my bold predictions. Trey Lance will be a top 5 quarterback in 3 years or less. It's the
Yeah.
exact same prediction that I made for Carson Wentz, and I made a lot of money on that prediction. But yeah, I know the schedule and the layout of what you got coming up. Like, I know that the 49ers have a top 5 difficult schedule coming up. But Trey's going to outduel some of the best arms in the NFL. Now, I need to tame or whatever. I need to pat down everybody's expectations from a standpoint of Trey and stats. Trey's not a stat guy. He doesn't care. He cares about the win. He wants to spread the ball out as much as possible so that people can't figure him out. What I mean by that is he's not stupid, dude. He knows that everybody's going to get film on him 3, 5, 6 games in, and then the defenses are going to adjust accordingly. How are you going to adjust accordingly if you're spreading the ball out everywhere? He is not the guy who's going to have a boatload of 300 plus yard passing games. He is the general of the run game. All he's doing with passing is keeping the run game efficient. In addition to our fullback porn, this leads to the exact same conversation. Our favorite thing on the planet is 8 to 9 minute drives during the game where you do nothing but ground and pound and wear a team down. You want to know why? Because then the fourth quarter comes along. You guys are all fresh as daisies, and the other team is huffing and puffing. And the next thing you know, the points are falling from the sky. That's why he understands the big picture of the game. He understands what it takes to get the W. He doesn't care how it happens. He doesn't have to be number one. He's not the focal point, like he says every time. My job is to get the ball in game makers' hands, in playmakers' hands. And everybody's like, well, then you got to dump off and let him get all the yak because your team is phenomenal at yards after the carry. Imagine catching the ball another 10 to 15 yards further down and then adding that yak on top of that. Not to mention, it's a considerably more open field downfield than it is near the line of scrimmage. So, yeah.
Well, that's, by the way, and I'm not sure if you knew this, but they took his average air yards per attempt in that Texans game.
Yep.
That was the highest that the 49ers had since like 2016. So,
yep.
yes,
now
he pushes the ball downfield.
Imagine two halves of that happening once Kyle realized that his arm is actually fine. Like, think about a quarterback that you would give a leash to, that you would loosen the slack to for Kyle Shanahan. If Trey Lance is in it, I don't know what it is. If you got 42 touchdowns and 1 turnover in an entire season, that guy would think has earned his right at least to get a little bit of slack, which Shanahan gave to him at the beginning of the second half. I'm just saying everything's going to come up roses in September.
Well, I want to address that too, because a lot of people will bring up, oh, well, they say Division II. They don't know what they mean by that, but yeah,
it's all right.
Yeah.
We've
it's a
been
Division II college, and okay,
I don't get, a lot of people in Fargo get butthurt about that. I don't. It's just a lack of knowledge. Saturdays were made for the FBS, dude. Like, right. I could go into infinite detail about algorithms and why Jimmy versus Trey was actually a thing. It's because you were getting pushed the information from the people that you followed that had the exact same viewpoints. You weren't seeing the 50-50 split of 50% of your fan base believed in Trey and 50% believed in Jimmy. You were only seeing the pro Jimmy stuff. So in your mind and everybody's mind, they're like, oh, well, Jimmy's the man, Trey sucks. Because that's everybody's viewpoint around you on social media. Just believe your eyes. For the love of God, just hand the keys over and believe your eyes.
And that's exactly it. Because here's the thing. I get it. It's not, he's not playing the Alabamas or the Clemsons. Which, by the way,
we would love to do that should somehow this make it out into the ether. And by the way, when Nick Saban says that they, like 3 years ago, he made this statement in an interview and said, we can only beat who will play us, or we can only play who will play us, or who will schedule us. That's a load of bullshit.
because you guys have tried to schedule that.
We have tried to schedule. Yeah. Sorry, I reiterated that. But we've been trying to schedule that. But by no means on any planet do I think, being honest, maybe I wouldn't ask the guys in our locker room, but do I think that we would beat Alabama? Now, would we get blown out? Hell no. Nope. Wouldn't happen. And I know everybody's like, yeah. Well, I'm going to say the same thing to you that we all say. Prove it. It's that simple. We want to get put in our place, because right now we have no clue where we're at in the landscape of college football. Think about that. The last game that we had, FBS game, was 2016. Since then, on average, we lose once every 2 years to an FCS team. I mean, that it's kind of the case. So we want an SEC or ACC or Big Ten higher up, Ohio State. We want one of them to come in and beat us. We'll know where we're at,
No, it would be a great measuring stick. But
I interrupted you. Go ahead.
No, you're good. You're good. So basically, my point is this. I understand he did all of that at a lower level school against lower level talent.
Yep.
But going back to the Saban quote, you can only play who's in front of you. And Trey Lance not only played who was in front of him, but he did it at the best clip he possibly could. He had the number 1 college quarterback season at the FCS level in the history. His first year out, he couldn't have done it any better. So what more could he have proven other than transferring and going to play some of those big time schools? Like, that was the only other option. So this thought that, oh my gosh, he's not ready because he played. What more could he have done? He did it perfect. What, you wanted him to do it perfect twice? Would that have been enough for you?
He could have done it at the FBS level, where everybody has already had the branding that FBS is the end all be all. And if you're FCS, you must suck. But again, it lends to the beginning of our conversation when I said we're a top 10 college football program or an FBS program that's stuck in the FCS. And the Missouri Valley Conference would kick the crap out of any G5. I hands down believe that. So
I love it. 49ers first takes.
My opinion on it.
Aaron coming in. I'm going to be on
And I
Aaron's
want
channel tomorrow,
anybody
by the way.
that's listening or watching out there, if you're cool with it, like I want them to ask questions if they have any questions. I
Yeah,
don't
for
know
sure.
everything there is to know, but when it comes to Trey, I try and be up on my stuff. So,
Yeah, throw out your
yeah,
questions as we're wrapping up here, guys. So 49ers first takes. Aaron, I'm going to be on his channel tomorrow. Says, got to support Jesse Naylor, and not just because he's one of the best or that we pretty much agree on everything, but because he's a great dude. I appreciate that, Aaron. That means the world
I
to me.
agree completely.
And I am Team Lance all the way. That's fantastic to hear. Here's for you, my friend. All right,
Don't
let's
mind
see
me.
if
I'm just going with the groove.
there's any questions.
Oh, one thing I
Let's.
wanted to say, the Trey Lance comparison to Josh Allen, they're from the same coaching tree. Craig Bowl,
Oh, there we
the
go.
head coach of the Cowboys in Wyoming, where Josh Allen came from, he's the guy who got the NDSU's first multiple FCS titles at the beginning. So big props
That's a
to anybody
good.
who's like Josh Allen is comparable to Trey Lance. Yeah, a little bit. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And Josh, see, okay, I don't think that there is a perfect comp for Trey Lance. For me, that's what gets me excited about him. It's what got me excited about Josh Allen. It's what got me excited about Herbert. These guys that you can't say, well, he is X, Y, and Z. You got to
Right.
say, well, he's a little bit of this, but he's better at that, or a little bit of this and better at that.
Yeah.
That's when you usually have something special on your hands. And Trey Lance to me just fits the mold perfectly. So we're excited to see it. Is there anything that we didn't touch on tonight that you'd like to get to?
Are you saying me personally or
You
the people
personally. Yes,
watching?
you personally. No, you
I,
personally.
I could go off for years, but no, for the most part. Oh, I'm going to do the same thing that I did last time, where I forgot the
Oh,
bold
yes.
predictions.
Throw it out. Bold
Yes,
predictions.
I think you're going to make the playoffs this year, despite having a top five um, difficult schedule. Truth be told, I said he's going to outduel some of the best. He's got to go this year against Herbert, Mahomes, Wilson, Murray, Stafford. By the way, I got an axe to grind. Not terribly by any means, with Oregon fans who did a lot of trash talking before a game that never came to fruition. And we did reschedule it, but not till 2028. So there's a lot of talk about how we don't have the same level of talent or whatever. That's the team that had 11 NFL players. So I'm pretty sure we had the talent, maybe not all across the board, but they would not concede that they weren't going to destroy us. At no point in time did I say we were going to win. I thought we were going to win. I just didn't say it.
Yeah,
But
you probably would have won that year. Like, let's
I
be
don't know.
real.
I don't
Let's.
know. But one thing that they would not concede either is, and I told them this is way before Lance was on anybody's radar, but ours was Trey Lance is going to be better than Justin Herbert. And this was before Justin Herbert was Justin Herbert. This is when he was just in the draft process because he had stayed at Oregon an extra year his senior season, which I thought was insane. But in hindsight, he was right. So
Worked
anyway,
out fantastic for him. By the way, being an Oregon guy, little biased, just like you are,
I didn't
but
know this.
but but I do I have
When
text
I said
messages I can show
when
where
I
I
said
was
I had an
calling
axe to
Herbert.
grind, I didn't know I was talking about you.
No, 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 no. I am. But I do have receipts showing that I was calling Herbert a top tier talent in the NFL I think 3 games into his sophomore year before anybody saw it. So Herbert, to me, if Trey Lance can be as good as Herbert, we're in for a
Oh
freaking
yeah.
treat. Because imagine
Um,
Herbert, just think for a second, 49er fans. Imagine Herbert with Shanahan on this team last year. What do you think would have happened? So
oh,
if he's
insane.
anything close
Insane.
to that, we're in for
Metal.
a treat.
Metal. So yeah, and so the end all be all that I want to equate to all 49ers fans regarding this conversation is he's not only a better quarterback than Jimmy, he's going to be a top 5. It's hard for me to say that like right off the bat. That's insane. And that's
For sure.
completely unfair to Trey Lance. But I do think he's going to be top 10 to 12 at least this year. And that's all you need to get back to the show, in my opinion. You had a ridiculous team this year, talent wise. I I'm just being fair. I think Jimmy was a lot of the reason why you didn't go to the next level. I think a lot of the Niner fans out there think so as well. But you can't, I mean, you can't be scoring those few points. He was hurt, right? Um, but
He was.
yeah,
But
I don't want
he
to
played
bash Jimmy because I love him.
he played
I do.
exactly the same way. He
Yeah.
played the same way.
So I'm just saying, if you're hoping that Trey Lance is a little bit better, which is, I think, most of your fan base is like, if Trey can just be a little, no, he's a hell of a lot better. He's like Justin Herbert level talent and beyond. And
well,
so
let's be
your question
clear.
earlier was Pat Mahomes, right?
Yeah.
One of your viewers was like, Pat Mahomes. Yes, comparable talent. We think so. I shouldn't just say yes. We think so in his own unique way, in his way. It's not going to be like 350 yards passing, 4 touchdowns. It's going to be like 200 yards passing, 50 yards rushing, 1 rushing touchdown, 3, passing touchdowns, but it's going to be efficient. Like, as long as your defense holds up, you're going to be winning a lot of ball games with Trey Lance.
Yeah, I mean it's just like basketball players, right? Like you have the guys that can go out, they put up 40 points a night and they're doing it on 25 shots, and then you got the guys who are putting up 32 a night, but they're doing it on 14 shots, right? And
Yeah.
that's Trey Lance. He's going to be the efficient player.
So for me, I also want to tell you guys is that he, in my opinion, he also has the ability to throw 300 to 400 yards in a game with 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. I just don't think he will ever want to, because that's not his, perfect skill set. I just think he's going to be a general that keeps the offense, the ground and pound efficient, and then can open it up if he needs to. And occasionally he will. So I'm more excited about what he's going to bring to your run game, I think, than even to
Yeah.
your game. And I'm excited because he throws like, look at his very first pass in the Butler game. The dime drop to Phoenix rolls over his head that he catches like Willie Mays style. Man, if Ayuk doesn't catch like 10 of those this year, I'll be disappointed.
Ayuk's gonna have a hell of a season
Yes,
with
he is.
Trey Lance. He's
Especially
gonna
since he's working out with
I
him
think
right
he's
now.
gonna benefit the most from Trey Lance. I really do.
Yep. Agreed.
Niner by Nature says, I know this question sounds ridiculous, but can Trey have another 0 interception season, but at the NFL level?
I love that you think that I have any say. No.
Uh,
But I have made a lot of projections as far as what I think he's going to do. I had like I think his first year I was projecting him to
no,
do
don't
like,
say it. Don't save this. Save
oh,
this.
okay,
I
okay,
want to have
okay,
you on.
okay.
So I'm
I
going to
will.
have you on
I
again
will.
before the season
Okay.
starts, and we'll give
Okay.
projections. We'll give our predictions, and then we'll revisit it throughout the season a couple times, if you don't
Ooh.
mind. All right.
No,
I think it'll
I
be
get
fun
to
to
be a
do.
continuing guest. I'll bring my
Here we go.
puppets.
All right, perfect. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I know a couple of you said that this was the first time that you had been here. While you are here, make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you never miss an episode. Show some love. We appreciate each and every one of you. 400 strong still viewing. Chad, your first segment was a hit. I think this was also a big hit. Thank you so much for giving us an hour and now 25 minutes of your time. It has been
Pleasure.
fantastic. Appreciate the heck out of you. We'll definitely do it again. We'll stay in contact on Twitter. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in and have a fantastic night.
Thanks, Jesse.